Well, well, well. Look who's back. I'm glad you're back. I'm here too. It's Scott's Boring Life, episode 8. We have a guest today, David Lettinga. Awesome conversation was had here in the studio yesterday. I'm going to play it for you soon. Hang in there. And I'm going to talk about Kauai, because podcast 9 is going to be in Kauai, and every podcast after that for 2 months, maybe 3 months. A lot of cool stuff going on, man. It's been a good day here today. Let's talk about it. It started off in a dentist chair. Isn't that a hell of a thing, going to the dentist as an adult? You feel like a child again. They're telling you how to floss, how to brush your teeth. Like the most sinful thing you've ever done in your life is not floss every night. It's wonderful. It's a nice feeling. Thank you, Dr. Lee. It was a nice way to start the day. And I had no cavities. What else? Well, I'm leaving in a couple days for an extended period of time. And there are things to take care of. I haven't even packed, for crying out loud. I got a boat that's leaking, a shop that's leaking. I got a fence that's about 18,000 feet anyway. That needs a few little things. There are things that need to be done. And that's what I'm doing. Went to the boat, closed it down. My buddy Lazo came with me, and he's going to check it once a week. I went to Lazo's place. I won't talk about Lazo too much because he's a private man. I respect that. But he has a really cool, it's a living situation. It's a trailer up on a mountain that looks over the ocean, and he has a driftwood fence, and it's very beautiful. Him and his lovely wife live there, and they bake bread, and they want you to eat bread, and they don't want you to leave. So that was a part of my day, was eating bread and leaving with bread. It was nice. And here I am, leading up to the conversation I had with Dave. David, I know pretty well. I mean, he was on the first song on the album, on my debut album, Only Mostly Dead. The first track he had a big part in. That first track, the idea was I would have a bunch of musicians, guest musicians. And Dave is kind of the only one that stepped up to the plate. Most didn't even respond to emails. But that's okay. I understand. I didn't know them very well, but I tried to get some local musicians to do like a guitar solo or play bass or something. But David was a buddy, and we were already jamming, so it made sense. And also, a guy named Ross Duncan is on that song. He is a great vocalist. He's great at harmonies. Harmonies are something I'm not good at, something I can't do live, really, because I gravitate towards the other person's note. It's something I never did, and now that I'm kind of messing with that a little bit, I'm behind. And Ross is a guy that's good at that. And so he was on the a cappella part in the beginning, and you could hear his voice faintly at the very end, shouting one line. So that was cool. But David had a really significant part of that song. It's right when it starts chugging along, about 3/4 of the way through. I think the opening line is, I remember back in high school when we were friends. And the reason I wanted a guest vocalist for that section, number one, is lyrically the story. It's the other character piping up. Number two, it's out of my range. I was going for like a Chris Cornell top end, higher register rock kind of vocals. And that's the kind of thing I do in my dreams, but I'm a lot more comfortable in a lower register these days, and that's kind of where I live. David does that well, and he did it well. It was awesome. So we chatted about that a little bit. I'm going to play that song right in the middle of the conversation this time. I'm going to just cut it in. And whenever he was here, we did jam it out. But you know what? I'm not going to play that for you. And I'll tell you why. Because it fell flat a little bit. because the idea of going mid-conversation into a really hard rock song and then Dave being sitting down in this comfy chair and then all of a sudden belting out this like top, like really aggressive vocal part was kind of a tough transition, and my levels were all out of whack. Like I had all the mics leveled out for just talking like I am now, and then going into belting out a song. It just didn't work. And that brings me to something I want to talk about before I play the conversation with that I had with Dave. And that's trust in like a creative situation. Because in the past, I've more than once, I've been hung out to dry, I've been nailed to the wall. And I promised I would never do that. If something's meant to be on the cutting room floor, that's where it stays. Because that happens, right? This happens to me all the time. You got to push yourself, and whenever you're pushing yourself, you end up with stuff that you leave behind. For example, I remember once, my first studio experience, there's this part of the song, and the engineer was encouraging me to do this, belt out this like rock and roll scream, I think I tried it like 20 times. And like my eyeballs almost popped out and their veins come out. I was just giving it all I had, and I don't even think it ever worked. But we tried, right? It was just him and I. Safe place, I thought, and so that's fine. A few days later, the girl I was dating comes into the studio to see what's going on, and this guy's personality changed as soon as a lady walked in the room. We all know those guys. And so what does he do? He starts calling up those old, isolated, no reverb screams, that were just kind of like, I thought that was just between, it wasn't discussed. I thought that went what I was saying. Anyway, not a big moment, but something I never forgot. And I remember thinking, when I'm in that position, I'm never going to do that. It's happened to me more than once in like an acting thing, for example. It's the same idea. Someone's pushing, and there's no script or anything, one of those type of gigs, and push, do something over the top. And sometimes you get something great, right? So I get that, and you're putting your trust. You're very vulnerable. And what happened in that situation is that cutting room floor stuff, they ended up playing at a party and having a laugh about. I never forgot. I thought, okay. So be careful who you trust. So I want to be somebody that in a creative place in the studio, musically, or maybe the podcast for this right now, be trustworthy, right? Is that so much to ask for other people? I think that goes without saying, but I guess not. Not always. Not always, man. All right. I want to look at a few nice messages. If you'll bear with me. We'll get to the conversation with David Lettinga momentarily. But I got a few nice messages, and I want to read them out to you. One is from a buddy named Ryan Snyder. And he said, hey, mate, great call on the podcast. I've been enjoying it. There is such a vulnerability given that you're being so open, talking without knowing who's on the other side listening. I applaud you for giving it a go. I look forward to hearing the next. Cheers. Well, thank you, Ryan. And you're right. I don't know who's on the other end. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm getting a little rattled. Messing with me a bit. I'm not going to think about that too much. But, yeah, it's nice to get a nice message. Nice little comment here and there. I'm a big liker on Facebook. I like the hell out of things. Why not? It's a nice thing to do. I'm just looking for something right now. If you could just bear with me. It was in the comment section. It was just one that surprised me, because you get somebody that kind of pipes up that you're not expecting. It's kind of nice, right? Of course it is. Don't be afraid to write something nice to somebody in their comment section, because I think you might feel that, whoa, that's a weird. Like that person would be like, whoa, what a creep, telling me good job or something, No, that never happens. I don't know. Here it is. I don't know, there's a whole bunch of nice ones, but This is from Maria McDonald. It says, if it's anything like your Instagram stories, then I'll definitely listen. I love hearing about Scott's boring life, which is absolutely non-boring in my perfect opinion. I'm sure many others will tune in and agree with me on this. Happy trails. I thought that was nice, Maria. Thanks. I appreciate that. All right, let's quickly look through the news feed. That is part of the tradition. And the first thing I see is Jean-Marc Etier and bonhomme and vrai ami, a guy I know from my Montreal days. And it's he changed his profile picture. Looking good, buddy. You have some funny glasses on. And that's good. Showing some personality. All right, one more. Two more. The next one is the Gulf Island Drift. So that's a local newspaper. And that's a good thing to have because they tell you, when roads are closed and whatnot. So what do they got? It says, look what is taking shape in the lobby of the library today. The green and red book Christmas tree. It's two nice looking lovely ladies that are making a pile of books that are red and green. All right. That's all right. Good for you. We should like all this stuff, eh? Jean-Marc will like that too. Okay. And that's 3. We always do 3. And number 3 is Paul King. Paul is a guy I met briefly in France. Not that briefly. There was a whole weekend at an event, a work event. He was a husband of one of the authors, and I am the husband of Karina, an author. So it was a hell of an experience in Cannes. That was a weekend I'll always remember. So when I see Paul, I think of that weekend. And that was fun. And he's proud of his daughter here. I assume it's his daughter kind of doing a recital and singing. So we'll like that. Bonk. All right. Moving right along. We're going to get to the interview soon. So like I said, the jam we had just fell flat a little bit. So I'm going to put in the recording that Dave and I did a year ago. So right in the middle of the conversation, I'm gonna cut it in there. And if you're not in the mood to listen to music, it's just one song, man. You just skip ahead. It's like it never happened. I won't know. I won't be offended. Don't worry about it. All right. So this is podcast 8. And the next one, podcast 9, will be in Kauai. We'll be in Hawaii. So I think that's going to be fun. How could it not, right? It'll be different. Things will be different. Will I find some guests there? Maybe. I hope so. Maybe Karina will be a guest. If nobody else, she'll be there. Maybe she'll be a guest whether she likes it or not. But right now in podcast 8, it's all about David Lettinga, a nice guy, local dude, talented musician, rock and roll guy. And we had a great talk. All right, let's do it.
I didn't know you went live with this whole thing. So that's
keeping it real, man.
Yeah, wow.
Well, usually what I would do is I wouldn't bombard somebody, like surprise them. But it's always weird doing the transition from, hey man, how's it going? And you get in the house early, start podcast, and then everything shifts from.
So
if I get this way, you just walked into it, and there's no like shift.
No,
and
totally.
You get skipping the whole like, hey, how's the drive over? That's a part of the thing.
Yeah.
How was the drive over?
It was good. It was a little treacherous.
Is it long? Do you find it long? 'Cause people do.
Not really.
I've had complaints.
No, man. I used to live in Vancouver, and we just,
Right.
So you come here and you start, everybody here gets all like whacked out crazy going to Fulford. And it's kind of like, come on now. That's like driving to the corner store in Vancouver, Yeah,
there's no traffic lights. This is a peaceful ride.
Oh, yeah.
When it's heavy traffic, it means it's a...
That's what I like. That's what I liked best about moving from Vancouver. Like from here, I was like, "Oh man, what am I gonna do here?" But you can just, you can go out anytime, park anywhere. It's all good.
When I do go to Vancouver, I always nearly have a heart attack.
I do that too. Vancouver. Where's the G? There's no G.
That's how you know if somebody's from Vancouver. That's how they say it. And outsiders say Vancouver.
That's weird. Is it? I think it's a lazy thing.
Of course, yeah, like Toronto rather than Toronto.
Tirana.
Yeah. Toronto.
That's your neck of the woods, though.
No, it was far. It was like a 6 hour. Wow, yeah, 6 hours of traffic and stuff to get there. So I never went.
Oh, you were just outside of Toronto.
Yeah, well, 6 hours away. I was closer to Montreal, so it was about like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours from
small
Montreal.
Town?
Very small. Yeah, it was like
farm boy.
Well, I don't know what we were doing.
I got this picture. I'm picturing you like baling hay and like overalls and.
Well, there might be a little bit of truth to that because I was surrounded by farms. It was like farm, my house, farm. Some other guy's house. I don't know what we were doing there because my parents are from Quebec. I was born in Quebec, and then whenever they were a very young family, they said let's buy an old house in Farmtown, Ontario, and we'll commute to Montreal every day. So my dad commuted for 2 hours to work every day to Montreal,
but with no farm or no
it's
sort
like
of
the old farmhouse. He was into that.
Oh yeah.
So he just kind of fixed it up and I guess they just gravitated to this little town. It was like a little village thing. And
were they like traveling Wilburys?
No.
Delirious nomads? Well, you're kind of like...
No, nothing like that.
Uh-huh.
No, but my dad would wake up, like it was dairy farmers, and then dairy farmers look at my dad and say, man, that dude wakes up early. Dairy farmers, and they wake up early, and they say, this guy wakes up early because he had to tattoo to get to work on time in Montreal, 2 hours away. He like leaves to like farm town, 2 hours away to go to the big city.
That's when you really like farm living.
Yeah,
like when you really don't.
Yeah. I don't know. That's like a part-time job though, 2 hours there, 2 hours back.
Yeah. I couldn't, yeah.
No.
It wouldn't be a part of my gig.
No, me neither. Never complained once though. He's not a complainer, Dad, but he...
To you though.
Yeah, he probably complained to others.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe.
To his wife or something like that. You know what I mean? I try not to complain about my job and stuff to your kids, to my kid. I try not to do that. And they don't care. Like they're the worst. It's not that I don't know. I think compassion is something that comes along the way. They really don't care. Like I'll tell her, yeah, today I had this client like that, and glazed out, like full on glaze comes over their eyes, like immediately. And then I'm just like, this is not cathartic for me. And you're totally bored.
I see this relationship is all about you. You are a 4-year-old child.
Hard life lessons learned. I thought I was going to have this little mini adult that could go, oh yeah, well don't worry, console me, something like that. No, nothing.
Totally one-sided.
Cares not.
It's all about her. But back to men complaining and just being I think that's a generational thing. I think every generation we're getting more and more neurotic and maybe even less like manly.
Oh yeah.
Like I think
there was a stoic nature to our design, or just to how people were doing it. That you don't really go on complaining about what you do because you like it.
Sure,
it's tough and it's and you can take it.
Like Clint Eastwood never was like, in his movies, like complaining, like, I don't know, this hat, does this really work for me? He smoking, I really should quit. Never.
Was he ever in a Woody Allen film?
No.
So had he been in a Woody Allen film? Because I don't know about the suit. It's
a different guy, but live in the same world. How is it possible? You probably cross paths at times.
No, for sure.
So, because you're no stranger. You're no stranger to this studio.
No.
That's why I thought I could do this with you.
It's looking a little bit different, yeah.
Well, it's chaos, man, because it's always changing, what it is. And then next week I want to do something else. So it's a rat's nest of wires and cables, and it gives me a heart attack sometimes when I look around. But
yeah, my OCD is off the charts looking at all those wires.
I know. Don't look at them. It's crazy. I just have to decide what I'm doing. I just stick with it for a while.
I like this podcast thing though that you're doing. It's kind of a fun little thing.
totally fun. I just got an email that I'm ranked 343 in this crazy bizarre genre. So what they do is they just kind of daisy chain these genres together to give you a ranking. So it's like this like crazy like grouping of genres that like nobody would possibly link up. So they linked me. It was like Canada was the first one. They were boiling it down pretty quick, and then personal journals, comedy. And there's like 2 other ones that were pretty random. So all those things combined, I was like 343.
Oh,
anyway,
not bad.
Oh, yeah, we're making.
I'm not going to ask out of 346.
Yeah, like beat those 2 fuckers.
Yeah, no, I had a buddy talking to me about Twitch. Are you familiar with Twitch at all?
I am not.
So Twitch is this thing where you go on live video, but it's video. It's basically what we're doing now, but it has a lot of people sitting on there playing video games and you're watching them, or a guy it'll be live like we're doing now, and there'll be a little chat board where we'll ask you to play songs, or like one guy makes like
oh fuck
yeah.
Let's let it play, man.
Did somebody just request this? I think somebody just called in a request. Caller?
That's my intro. I didn't realize that was going to happen. That's okay. Now we officially started.
Wow.
You know what?
Scott's boring podcast just got a lot less boring as soon as that kicked in.
That's my intro music.
Anyways, the point is that this guy makes like something like between $1,000 and $1,500 a day.
Oh,
and he
wow.
sits there with his guitar, and he's got a bunch of charisma too. I mean, there's a reason that people follow him. But then again, it's another social network thing like that. And and then they just look, can you play, this Alice in Chains song or whatever? And he'll like, all right. And he calls up Gordon. He just starts going for it, and it's pretty good too. So usually it's pretty entertaining. And somehow through that whole thing, he's gained enough followers, though, he'll just say stuff like, oh God, you want me to do, Man in the Box or something. Oh, that's going to be this much or something. And people just people pay for the strangest things.
Blows my mind.
Yeah.
But it's a big world.
Yeah. It's interesting. So we'll be going live with Twitch.
I never heard of Twitch.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Now, how can you do that? Because you can't play somebody else's song for money.
Yes. You don't, there's ways around it. But also, if you were to do something where you are reviewing songs, I think you can only play 10 to 15 seconds of a song. Okay. And you're allowed to do that. And then you can talk about it, but you can't play it all the way through or something. So, yes, there's guidelines. You can't just do whatever you want. But anyways, I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, there are loopholes. Like, the Trump rallies are using Guns N' Roses songs. And Guns N' Roses are losing their minds. Like, but they can't do it. There's this loopholes. They're like, well.
Oh yeah, man. Neil Young was like pulling his hair out, and
what's left of it.
Oh God, yeah, no doubt. Yeah, it's a funny thing. I love it. I love the fact that you can. That you don't have to have some guy in a suit, some network executive, some A&R guy, some, all these guys that punch the numbers and look at the charts and, deciding upon who gets a chance to be heard. You get this organic following, like say this guy, like nobody's pumping him. He's got no companies going in and putting commercials out for him. He's just a guy who's everybody is on the same play. If you're allowed to get out there, you could do it. You're doing this, number 343 on the list. You know what I mean? There is actually some people who are actually, interested in that type of thing. And I think it's neat.
I think it's neat too. I think stuff like this, it's dangerous whenever you are aspiring for followers and listeners. Because if you, the world is strange. I find when you make an effort, when you try too hard, you end up repelling people. Does that make any sense? Totally. And like for a comedian, let's say, when it they're you see an open mic or something, a comedian, he's trying too hard and wants it too bad or something, and it repels people.
Well, that's the other side of the coin. When you let everybody up at open mic night, there's going to be these people who also, just because anybody can get on there, there's going to be a lot of people who, usually that guy in the suit with the charts, he's usually the Simon Cowell of the, he's the guy who's telling you, yeah, probably not for you, so you also don't have somebody like, there's no quality control really. Anybody's up there, anybody can get up there as well, which I'm saying is good and it's cool and it's neat, but at the same time, it's like, but I guess people, if you read any YouTube comments for him, people are not afraid to tell you when you suck.
Internet's kind of, and that there's good and bad to that. There's good. The internet's pretty good for letting you know. I went to the open mic last Thursday.
Yeah, I heard about that. How come I wasn't, you didn't alert the media, obviously.
Yeah, I just went in and out. It didn't go great, but I just thought I should do that.
So it didn't go great by Scott's standards, or what would you say about it?
Well, it's funny. I kind of go to a weird place. Like, I get nervous, and I have a weird setup right now where I play the backing tracks. So I did that.
And people who don't know, also, you have a pedal board with about 20 different pedals on it to sit there and tap dance around?
Well, right now I have 3, but with everything, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But one's for vocal, and it's weird. So the poor Vix was doing the sound. It's super challenging because my backing tracks go through, and my vocals are on the same channel.
You couldn't separate them, really?
No. So I could kind of you can mess with the volume of each, but it's tricky. And then, of course, the guitar as well. So... And you don't want to fuck with it for an hour. It's an open mic. Just you got to hurry up and do your best in a couple minutes, and then away you go. So on my last song, I even lost my place. I've never done that. Like, I know the song's pretty good at this point, and I actually lost my place because I couldn't hear where I was.
What about just a straight iPod to the PA, and then you play along to that through?
That's basically what I'm doing. This goes into the. Yeah. That's basically what I'm
that goes into there. Yeah, I was going to say into the PA, so she's got a channel to mix one channel, like that's all you got to do.
I think that's what I'm going to do next time.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's weird. I just thought it was a good, healthy thing to do, and it was, because it didn't go great, but I'm glad I did it, because I'm learning how to handle nerves. I'm learning that take a few minutes and get the sound right. Mm-hmm. And I think I vibed out the place because it's an open mic, and people are strumming songs over the acoustic, and I'm standing up with my flying V guitar and doing some pretty heavy stuff. Yeah. So I vibe them out, and I felt that. But what am I supposed to do? I'm here. It's the only place to go, and
you got to do it.
So I figured I might as well do that, and I think I'll do it once more.
You got to come out of the basement sometimes.
Yeah, that's how I feel about it too. Yeah, and you can't, because I aspire for.
How many songs do you do?
I plan on doing 3, and if I just did the 3, this would be a different conversation. It'd be like, yeah, it went okay. Yeah. But then it did go okay, so I'm like, well, fucking. I looked over at Vic. She's like, do more. I'm like, okay. So I did 2 more, and I shouldn't have, because then the line was a little too heavy.
What did you do? What songs did you do?
I did Julia, Fangs, Summer Love Song. And those 3 went fine. Hard to fuck those up. Yeah. And then after that was Violent No Thanks, which actually was okay, not great, but then Spaceship Limousine, which was, I think I'm gonna fuck off with that one.
Really?
Well,
has it had its time?
I don't know. I love that song, like the premise. I just kind of think it's kind of fun. Actually, I left this big open space for a lead-in to tell the story of it. And because of the backing tracks, how I'm doing it, I have to tell the story. If not, it's just dead air. Yeah. And it wasn't working, but no choice. If I could just start playing, I would, but I have to wait for the click, click, click. So it's kind of stupid. Then it sucked. So I'm like, well, I gotta do one more. I can't leave on that note. So I did way too much. And then
so you basically did the whole set.
Red is the last one I did.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's good though.
Yeah. I lost my place on Red a little bit. So that happened.
Well, that's good. They didn't pellet you with rocks and garbage and.
No, they went out for cigarettes.
Yeah. You blasted them with an open mic.
Well, Vix is nice. You put it nice and loud, because it has to be loud. It has to be kind of loud. This kind of music. If not, it falls flat.
Oh, that's good.
Well, I appreciate talking to you about this because you're good at this. You were in town. Like, I feel like I could bring a tune to you, and you're going to give it a chance. You're going to hear it out, and you're pretty quick to hear where it's coming from. To hear even if I give you like a little piece,
right?
You're kind of guy be like, I give this little fuzzy riff, and be like, okay, I can kind of see, and you know where I'm headed, and you're good that way. And I think that's because you have a lot of history, like music. You're not a guy just strums his acoustic on the edge of his bed. You have a lot of history. Like, you, for a living, were a musician and touring cover bands as a young man, and that's what you did. And I find that amazing. And you did different eras of music, right? Yeah, I'm sure you did the classic rock stuff up until what was current at that time. I guess was that the 90s into the 2000s?
Yeah, I did a bunch of that stuff. That stuff I always found was a little more easy. A lot of the original bands that I played in, doing shows for them was really, really valuable. Like doing shows, because that's when you got shoved on, no sound check.
Right. That's reality.
20 minutes, go. You know, and you know, and so then, you know, the more you sucked in them, or the more you tried to avoid the pitfalls that were going to, I mean, you always knew you were going to come into some screwed up situation of something. You might not even get monitors. You might not even get this, that, and the other. So, you know,
you don't complain about it. You just, this is what I got. This is what we're doing. Let's go for it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. A few of those situations for me, I always ended up handling them like I would be. For the first little while, I was absolutely devastated. And then I became like, I don't want to be devastated anymore. Like, this is too much fun. Like, this is what I love doing. I need to do this. So I got it to us, but then I got it to a place where I could get, like, from the first song, I could get, like,
the jitters away and where you need to be.
Well, fuck everything.
Right.
And I'm not going to let everything else ruin my time. I only got 20 minutes to do it. You know, you rehearse for, like, you're sweating it out and jam things, arguing with your bandmates over parts. You're doing all this stuff. And then you're going to get up and have a shitty time. I was like, no way, man. You know, eventually I got that attitude. That was the same with going from playing to singing for me a lot. I went up to open mic a bunch of times by myself. Here on Salt Spring.
Okay.
And I wasn't a singer. I was just a bass player for all those years. And
you were a bass player for, I mean, we say all those years. Like, how many years are we talking?
Well, that was before I moved here. It was 17 years.
Right.
Like, just being on the road and just traveling across Canada, playing at the start, playing in shitty bars on crappy circuits, and then closer to the end of that period, you know, playing in really good rooms for decent money and being treated well and getting respected and doing, you know, decent opening slots and stuff like that. But I mean, yeah, I don't know. Anyways, where was I?
I was 17 years playing it for bass, and then you come to Solid Spring, and then you say, I'm going to sing, and you go to open mic and give it a go.
Yeah. I always wrote songs with the bands I was in, and I was becoming more and more of a songwriter, but I wasn't singing them, and I wasn't even really writing for myself. So anyways, I started doing that, and just with some originals and some covers, and just playing at open mic and being like, even though I had toured around Plymouth 17, I was like scared, like super, super scared and super nervous. And then that same thing kicked in with me. I was like, I don't want to suck anymore. Like, I don't want to have a bad experience. How do I have a good experience with that? And the only way was to just do it over and over and over again until you're tired of, because I knew I could sing so much better than I was singing at my, or like when I'm sitting in my house and so that nobody's around, I'm like, this isn't like so bad. Actually, this is this is all right. I could pass at doing this, but man, I tell you, it was weird, and it doesn't make sense to people on the outside. They're going, well, you go stage all the time. Mm-hmm. This should be no problem for you. Right. It should be really easy for you. And I'm just like, oh, you got no idea. And especially when you hear your voice coming back through the monitors, it's not a normal thing that you're used to hearing. And all of a sudden you're blasting through this, and you have this, and you don't know, or you can't rationalize that other people don't hear it the same way that you're hearing it. And you have to let all that stuff go.
I really like your approach. How I think that's really sound advice that could help a lot of people. It's simple, but it's a pretty awesome premise, and that's, I don't want to have a bad time.
Yeah.
It's basically it. Like, I don't want to have those bad feelings. I don't want to, and you can't have one bad show, one bad experience open mic. You have to keep at it and be like, well, I just don't want to have that bad experience I had last week.
Yeah.
And,
well, yeah, but you also got to allow yourself to suck. Like you'd have these ideas like, oh yeah, this is going to be good at open mic. You don't do that. Just go, I got to go do this at open mic. And then once you get to where you're doing it just as good as you do it in your own bedroom or when nobody else is around, just when you get to that point, then start thinking, hey, maybe this will be good. You know what I mean? There's that expectation thing out of it.
Yeah.
That puts a blanket on you that you have to all of a sudden, you have to swim through. You have to get past that. And that's no good to have on you when you get up there. Just try and have fun, Don't worry about how good it is.
Totally.
Because you can't, as soon as you start worrying, that's the little worm that starts getting bigger and bigger in your brain. I got to the part where I like just stop halfway through a song and then start another one because my mind was going, everybody hates you, thinks you suck and you're hideous.
That worm got in deep, fucked with something important.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. No, and that's what I would try to instill people when I was running open mic. Moby's there for a while. Like the people would be all like, nervous. The other big one is nobody cares.
That's big. That's what I use that one. I use that one a lot because it's true.
Yeah,
it's true, especially at open mic.
And nobody is ever going to care as much as you do.
Of course.
Like they're never going to care that much. Yep. And even if you go up there and you're wicked,
they still don't care that much.
They really don't. They don't really care that much. They'll say, "Hey, you sounded good up there," And it's funny. It's the same thing. One person gives you a little cookie like that, it can change your day. For us, you can have like 50 people tell you you're awesome. One guy tells you that, tone on that side or something like that, and that's the only thing you've heard. Now, that's the only thing you'll focus.
That's the worm. Yeah. You gotta let that roll right off you. No, you were good at on the open mic. I know you don't do that anymore, but you did do that. You were fantastic because somebody gets up there and it's hard to realize sometimes that there's fireworks going on inside them, and this is huge for them. It's just like 7 people watching. It just kind of seems like a nothing thing, but inside them, walking on that stage as they're plugging in their guitar, there is huge fireworks of emotion happening inside them. Yeah. And you're pretty good at recognizing that and cooling them off a bit. So after the open mic, because it's funny, I'm doing open mics now and I'm nervous about it, but throughout my 20s, I was in really aggressive, basically metal bands. I don't know if it was metal, but it was pretty heavy. And well, that's not true. I would get quite nervous. But it was different because you're with a whole bunch of your buddies, and the amps feedback like hell and are delaying back, and there's that white noise of the drums and the cymbals, and everything's kind of vibrating, and it's not so bad. Like, I have my guitar in my hand right now, so if you're in your car listening or something, prepare. It's might be loud, but it's just like one note, just just as that was going, and then your buddies has the bass cooking, and then like the and that's the outro. But once that gets going, your nerves are gone. It is unreal to having a bunch
crew
of with you. And like the amps and going up with some backing tracks with like a thin sounding guitar is different. It's not the same. It's harder.
Hats off to you to do. I mean, I'm just like, how does Scott, like, how,
Well, do you want to do it with me next week?
What, like a live thing? Or you go?
You mean song we did together?
Oh, Get Up.
well, because on the album Only Mostly Dead, the opening track, you have a pretty significant vocal part in.
Okay. Oh, do it here on the show or do it at open mic?
We could do it both. Let's do it here on the show, see how it goes. And if it goes okay for the World Wide Web, we'll do
that'd be fun.
We'll do it for 6 people at the local pub.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe we should do it the other way around. I don't know. But
yeah, no, for sure.
You'll probably need the lyrics, won't you?
I don't know, man. I think I remember them.
Really? Wow, good for you. It's been a while. Do you want me to give it to you to breeze over? Or you think you got it?
Sure, let me see.
Okay. Make sure don't knock anything over. There we go.
Where's my spectacles? When you get older, Scott, you got to wear spectacles.
I probably should. I haven't explored that possibility yet. It's the next thing, I think.
You gotta either wear spectacles. All right, let's see. Oh yeah, right on. Oh yeah, I remember these. It's catchy. It's a catchy little ditty.
That was a fun process when you came over and recorded that.
Yeah, you were really good. I was really happy about that. I didn't. It was a pretty fortuitous sort of thing. I mean, you don't know how that's gonna. Like, you had this idea that I should sing this part. It was kind of like quite out of my range, or so I thought. But you had recorded a song for me here. So I think maybe you were sort of had a little more idea of what I,
it was inspired
of what
by,
I could do.
It was inspired by Royal Thunder, the girl that sings for Royal Thunder. My favorite band for years now.
Royal Thunder.
Yeah, her name's Milne, and she's kind of like if Janis Joplin and Metallica were combined.
Really?
She is so good, and. So that part was kind of because I knew that part was going to be like a guest vocalist. I thought that's cool on an album. Just like midway, the song kind of marches along, and then a guest vocalist comes in, real balls to the wall type of. And that's what it was.
Cool. That would have been actually really interesting to have a badass female singer on that for that particular part. However, I don't know. You've got a story behind it.
Yeah, no, it doesn't work actually. The female,
it's quite a different tone. Like when I hear that song, like I almost like I know we're different singers, but I almost think like, geez, somebody. It's not completely obvious that it's a different singer right away to me. Yeah, it's like that could be Scott.
I know. Yeah, that's true. Actually, I think a lot of people don't realize that section of the song is not me. But that's higher than I usually go. But I like another thing because like the story of the song, that's the other character in the story. Kind of piping up. Right.
And then I assume the other character's male.
Yeah, they're two dudes that grew up together. Kind of good guy, bad guy trope. And then as they get older, one becomes a cop, one stays as in the life of crime. And it's this cat and mouse thing. As they get older, the cop turns into a detective and is always trying to get this guy.
Right.
And they have a history. And then this fella ends up, the criminal, in hiding out in this like desert shack, and for years he seems to get away with it, living there his life in hiding. And then one day he sees a car come up the long laneway, and he just knows even before the car gets close who it is, and lo and behold, whenever he gets close he sees it's him. So he's sitting there with his back to the window, and then the dusty window in the desert, and he can hear the boots of the guy coming up to the door, and he has a shotgun in his hand. Hiding in the desert from a detective. It's been years now. Motherfucker found you. Swinging in the window.
the day I met you. Won't let you take this from me. Not over my dead body. You stole from me, prayed you'd stop. Just stop tracking me down. I led you to the river. I hunted you down like a dog.
That's interesting. A lot of your songs got a visual element and a story behind them. You know, and jamming all those songs with you, much of them I don't really know. Like, you know, I mean, I was jamming Fangs for like, I don't know, a good 6 months before I even knew that it had a slight, more than slight political sort of slant to it. And then some of the other ones.
Political stuff, I hate when it's too on the nose. I don't like when in music, and if it's too on the nose for anything, but especially if it's political. Because if it's just like a good rocking song, you know, if the chorus is "fuck Trump," it takes you. You know, you don't always. If you're on a long, sunny, open road and you're having a great time, a road trip, you don't really want it to be taken out of that.
No.
You know, it's not just that, but I just, in art in general, I don't like when things are too on the nose. I like when you have to look for it.
Yeah. Just don't give me a literal,
I hate when things are too
political. Right?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Unless you're Rage Against the Machine, there's a good argument there. Somehow they manage, you could just listen to that stuff and not even, and not even care. Just have like a huge apathy, but just be like, this was the best in the middle of summer on a hot day at the beach. You could be just sitting there, sitting there listening
You're
to
right.
these.
They get away with that.
Yeah,
You're
somehow. Right. But they make they make the argument. Some could say maybe U2 pulls it off sometimes. I don't know. I'm just not. I'm not a fan.
Right.
I'm not a fan. Not necessarily not a fan of U2.
No, they're a great example of that. It's not so much on the nose. I didn't know the Sunday Bloody Sunday was what it was for years.
What?
I didn't. Honestly, I bet I'm not alone there. I'm sure there's lots of people that didn't realize.
How can you just go on with your life with all the starvation in the world?
This is just a rocking song, and I just enjoyed it.
So you do this weekly. This is a weekly thing for you.
I did it once.
The podcast.
Yeah. No, the podcast.
Yeah.
I do it when I feel like it.
Okay.
And this is the 8th one. And I'm really enjoying it. So I'm doing it pretty consistently, although in a few days we're flying away to Kauai. Mm-hmm. And I'll be there for almost 3 months. So we'll be in a tiny little space, Karina and I.
And that's where you do a lot of your writing, right?
We'll be writing there. And I have to stop fucking around. I have to finish this book. So that's the purpose. I mean,
would this be considered fucking around right now?
Yes. No question. This is escape. This is complete.
Fair enough. All right.
Avoiding responsibility.
Yeah. Well,
I'm building a fence right now. I don't know if I need a fence, but to me, like, that fence is avoiding the things I have to do.
Yeah. No, I hear that. I think you need a fence. Fences are healthy.
Everybody needs a fence. Something that you do that you can visually see.
Everybody needs a wall.
Yeah. People say the world needs less walls. No, more walls. Walls are good.
Yeah.
I need walls.
Well, yeah, I know somebody down south who totally behind you on that one.
Yes. We won't get political.
Oh, yeah, man. Sorry. I didn't do that.
I don't want to keep you all night, but you want to talk tunes a little bit before?
Hey man, this is you're the Letterman, in this whole thing. Do you watch it? Norm Macdonald podcasts and those guys are the best. You know how they get in, like, whoever comes on his show.
Yeah.
Like, these guys.
I don't think anyone heard that.
These guys, they're naturally funny. Spade and Jim Carrey, all these guys he gets on, they're funny. And Norm's even funnier than almost all of them.
I don't know if you know this, but Norm Macdonald is my favorite comedian of all time.
Oh, is he?
I've seen. And he said, "Have you seen the Norm whatever?" I've seen them all, every single YouTube video, and I've watched them when I'm just feeling down or whatever, I'll just watch Norm Macdonald.
He's a genius. It's
just his way. He's funny.
It's just who you are. Those guys that are the masters, that are the greats, it's just kind of who they are. You like them.
But a lot of people
their
hate
jokes
these
are
people
funny.
that you mentioned. I love everybody you mentioned. A lot of people hate them. And I think this is interesting. I saw...
A lot of people hate Jim Carrey. David Spade. Spade's hilarious.
Not everybody loves
Spade.
Spade.
Because he is arrogant and he's kind of mean, or that's the way that people come on. I think he's fantastic.
What I think it is. Lorne Michaels was in an interview, and somebody said something to the same effect that we were saying. They loved a certain... I think we were talking about these guys. And Lorne Michael jumped in and he said, well, no, you like whoever was on SNL when you were in high school.
Right, yeah.
And I think that's true. Like whoever's on SNL right now, I'm like, yeah, some of them are funny, but whatever. None of them are close to Farley. They can't even not even the same ballpark.
No way.
But maybe like some young person who really likes, I don't even know their names now, but
comedy's time specific. For sure.
I think so. Yeah,
I'm for sure. Did you see Adam Sandler's latest special on Netflix?
I did. I thought it was touching. I thought it was good.
I thought it was really good. But that thing, the tribute to Chris Farley was I thought was really touching.
That
really
was
good.
Yeah.
And and it's cool because he got to do that. You knew it meant a lot to him, and he got to do that, and you didn't for one second think that it was just a really good tribute.
For sure. I mean, obviously they were close, and it was and it wasn't put on. If I had to say anything about that, is how it was cut. How I think there was 3 different performances, and they kept cutting to the different 3.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe just one, like how we're doing here. Like we fucked up a few times. The intro came in accidentally. I'm gonna leave all that shit in.
Yeah. I know what you're saying.
Because there's something about, I don't know.
Oh yeah, there's something about pulling it off, and or the warts and all.
Or not pulling it off.
Yeah,
and be like, this time we didn't,
I don't know. It's hard to say because I watched that thing and I can see, and I'm like, okay, well, would it have been funnier? Maybe, would it have been funnier if they would have showed his screw ups or whatever, or did we just get the best of what he's got to offer?
It's definitely the best, but I don't think a guy like that, he doesn't screw up, and if he screws up, it's okay.
Yeah, I liked how musical it was. I will say that
he's talented.
Yeah, I like how he'll go in and go, I'm going to do a funny new wave song, and then he goes full new wave, he goes full on Depeche Mode or something, and then he's only going to do a total rock song, and then he's doing like, I'm doing a goofy little ballad, and oh no, yeah, he's super talented.
Depeche Mode is a band that I got into late in life.
Yeah,
they're fucking awesome. Because for me, always, if it wasn't like electric guitar, bass,
me too.
Like the traditional rock group, as soon as there's like a synthesizer in there, I'm like, fuck you. Yeah, don't like it. I had this code I lived by.
Yeah, me too.
But later in life, I'm like, no, it's good.
I missed out on a lot.
I missed out on a lot. The
Cure. Well, I mean, at that time, and I think you're similar age to me.
Yeah.
That time, you were in either one camp or you were in another camp, and usually it reflected what you were going through or what you related to at the time.
Who you ran with.
And yeah, definitely who you ran with, because those are your buddies. You had them in common, and like the Cure sort of didn't fit into my Van Halen or my whatever it was at the time, my Sabbath or my thing, like what, I think my friends would probably just be like, and I sort of felt that way too, I mean, what do these guys want, what are they whining and crying about,
Yeah, right. Well, like for the Cure, for sure.
Yeah. And I missed out on a lot and caught up.
Me too. I missed out on a lot.
Caught up later.
I was ignorant. I didn't realize how ignorant I was, but I was musically. A lot of stuff I liked, but I wouldn't tell anyone because I was super ignorant. I liked like 5 bands, like White Zombie, Slayer. I could just Pantera. It was a pretty short list, and later on like Deftones for sure. But it doesn't matter. But like Green Day, I always said I fucking hate Green Day. Yeah. But secretly, I liked them. because they were commercial. They were popular. Like the jocks liked them. Yeah. So I'm like, well, I can't like that.
Yeah, it's super weird. I see a lot of there's a lot more variety and a lot of things different nowadays. Internet's opened up a whole new sort of thing. Yeah. You see kids listening to Iron Maiden and stuff, and wearing like Judas Priest badge, like listening to actual time specific metal, or even worse. Like I shouldn't say worse. I like Judas Priest and Maiden still. I think they hold up to the metal. Yeah, I think they're still relevant in that genre. But when I look back at like a lot of the LA rock, the hair metal and stuff like that, that's an oversaturated scene with a lot of bad, some good, but like a lot of bad.
The bad is just so bad.
So, but what I don't, like, I mean, I see a lot of kids going back and listening to a lot of that hair metal stuff, and they'll listen to Hair Nation, like whole radio stations, you know, devoted to that stuff. But you know, that baffles me that they could get into some of that stuff, because I mean, a lot of it's really bad. I mean, there's the top, you know, 5 or 6 that made decent music regardless of the amount of hairspray they had.
Yeah, but those 5 or 6, they were doing it for different reasons, and that's just kind of they wrapped it up in a certain way. But they were doing the songs they were playing, and how they played it came from the center of them, and there was some honesty there. And then there was a whole bus loads of people that were just kind of putting on costumes and
getting deals left and right.
Yeah, right, because at that time that kind of thing was happening.
The suits and exactly.
And that stuff didn't stand the test of time.
And then Nirvana was so gracious to come along and just drive a stake right through the heart of all of that stuff.
That was
much needed break.
I was just talking to a psychologist. I wasn't in a session. I was just having a beer with some friends, and one of them happened to be in psychology.
It's okay, man.
But of course it would be okay. But I wasn't kidding.
You okay, bro?
I'm good. Well, on vacation? No, I'm not. But it was interesting what he was saying, because I love, because he wasn't first year psych. I hate. If I'm hanging with someone and says, I'm a first year psychology student, I'll just get up and fucking leave. That, or like first year film students. Oh my God, are probably the worst human beings to be spending any time with. Oh my God. But anyway, that is not the point. This guy was an older guy, and he was just interesting. We're talking about grunge music, and he told me a theory I'd never heard before, but I think it might be true, or there's some truth to it. And he said that it was the result of the AIDS epidemic, which is crazy, right? Big scary word, and it just kind of
no.
But it's so what it was. Well, I don't have to explain it, because you kind of get it, don't you?
No, I get it, but I think it was a symptom. I think that the change was. You know, the changing of the guard was due. And that AIDS stopped everybody from being incredibly promiscuous and also
like oversexed, and which was like the hair metal thing.
It was incredibly debaucherous.
Grunge, I never looked at grunge that way, and he said that. I'm like, you're right. It is completely sexless. There is zero. There's no music in history, I think, that had less
sexiness to it.
I don't know what a better word to use is, but you know what I mean. And
I do. I know exactly.
And it's true. I never thought of that before until he said it. I'm like, oh my God, that is zero. Like the point. And look how they dress. They're making huge efforts to be as unappealing as possible. And I don't know. I think he was onto something.
I think timing wise, there's a lot to his argument.
Because it was timed right then.
Definitely.
That.
I watched a movie. I don't want to get too heavy with the whole AIDS thing, because I agree with the grunge thing, but I just remember watching this excellent movie called "And the Band Played On." Have you heard of that?
I have not.
And it's all about. It's old too. Matthew Modine is in the movie, and as one of the main stars when he was like a bigger star. But anyways, it chronicles the beginning of the AIDS epidemic from a political standpoint, and how they could have stopped it. And they knew, the government, and they knew about it. I mean, it might be a little conspiratorial, but they knew about it. They could have stopped it. And they authorized a whole bunch of by trying to put it like sweep it under the carpet, they actually caused they didn't stop, and they also put it on like Get Easy. But anyways, I don't know, man. That guy's theory, though.
Right.
I'm just saying, watch that movie if you get a chance.
I will.
Really
I love
interesting.
me a good conspiracy theory, and that sounds like a good one. I've heard that kind of thing before.
Yeah, and I don't know that it's as much conspiracy as just kind of like a true story. Like they didn't know what to do with it, and they tried to. They thought they got conned into believing it was. Don't worry about it as much because it's only gays who are getting it. You know what I mean? Coming from an Christian political slant on an angle of it, like
in Africa,
which is really dark. Well, no, in America,
yeah.
So,
and
so not in Africa.
In America and in Africa,
yeah, exactly. So, anyways, yeah, it's kind of heavy, but
super duper heavy. I think there might be truth to that. I don't know. I love conspiracy theories. That one is a dark one, but they usually are.
Do you have any of the big conspiracy theories that you actually believe in?
I think here's funny.
Like you had the 9/11 thing, or you saying?
Well, geez, I don't know. A lot of these conspiracy theories at a time, I believed them, maybe privately, and then as time goes by, I don't believe them anymore.
Really?
Yeah.
They have an expiry date or something?
I think what happens is they're exciting, and I buy into it.
They're more exciting than the truth. That's the appeal of conspiracy theories.
They're fun. I love talking about them. Like when I was on night shift, there's a guy who was a little too into them, and everybody say, "Oh, avoid that guy." He's really. That's all.
I like that it's the night shift too.
Well, I had a lot
that weird guy at the night shift.
Well, I've had a lot of that, and I would sit next to him every night. I'm like, "What do you got tonight, man?" And he would and I loved it. It was like entertainment to me. I thought it was good fun.
Yeah.
But there's a time where, like, you name them, all the classic ones, but I privately believed them. They had the good sense to not go around saying, "Oh, the moon landing's bullshit."
Or you're just smart enough to know that that people are gonna think you're the weird night shift guy.
You don't want to be exactly. That's what it is. Yeah. For the time, I was the weird night shift guy, secretly deep inside me, but I kept that guy quiet.
Yeah.
And that he went away, and here we are.
Yeah, no.
But I love me a good conspiracy theory. I haven't heard a good one in a long fucking time. Have you? I haven't. Whatever happened to good conspiracy theories? Now it's just like nothing's conspiracy theory. It's just like, yep, no, that's the truth. Like all the
I got only one that I'm hook, line, and sinker believing that that Stephen Avery was framed. Stephen Avery and Brendan Dassey were framed. That in Making a Murderer, that Netflix documentary series, that the state and the police all conspired to put him in jail because they were looking at having to pay him $36 million for convicting him for 18 years before that. I'm fully into that conspiracy, which a lot of people think you got to be crazy to think that, but I bought in. I'm a believer.
Well, that's a big one. I've actually never watched that, but I've heard many conversations and debates about that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a popular one.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's probably true what you're saying.
Watch it.
Because I'm not so naive to think that that can't happen. In fact, I think it's pretty important to be an okay person. You don't have to be great, but I think it's important to be an okay person and not be careful who you fuck with, because I think terrible. Like I think there are bad people out there, and I think there are bad.
Yeah, there's some bad people in government. Obviously, not everybody.
Too. I'm not one of those people that think. I'm not an anarchist or something, but I'm not so naive to think that there aren't some bad apples there that could really fuck with your life. Mm-hmm. So just don't be a dick,
Yeah, don't be a dick. Well, yeah, just definitely don't be a dick. The officials are elected, And that's when somebody's holding your liberty in hands and they're an elected, like judges are elected. The jury system it can be a little bit weird too down in the States, but but for the most part, judges, a lot of the judges are elected. So there's right there. You should be appointed. I think there's a huge difference if you think about it. You get appointed by a bunch of people, that's one thing. But when you're there's a lot of I think is when there's power and there's a lot of people greasing each other's palms and stuff like that, then the right thing to do can easily become what's the right thing to do for me or for us, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Yeah. But I'm not a huge conspiracy theory. I honestly don't think the government's a boogeyman. I don't think they put in vaccination things out there to kill you.
No, me neither.
And I think that's a wacky one. I mean, are the vaccinations for everybody? We're incredibly interestingly made up human beings. Maybe there's adverse effects to a small amount of people, but I don't think that,
I can't
it's
think.
far.
I don't know how I could just live my day if I thought the government was injecting people with something that was doing them harm, that were flying planes into buildings just to cause some kind of social effect. That I can't believe that stuff, and I don't, because I really
don't think you got to go that far to con people into going to war.
No, you don't. That's so stupid.
I think you can come up with a few easier sort of situations too.
Much easier.
Now,
just fuck with somebody's bank account.
Yeah,
that's a great start.
yeah,
that gets them going.
Yeah, no doubt.
But we're going to dark place. But it's
where it goes.
It is, but I mean, you know why it is because we're, went from like talking about rock and roll and metal and what crowds you run with, and we're talking and we represent a certain crowd. It's kind of, we're older guys now, but at one point we were younger, maybe not punk rock, but in that side of things, and non-conformist, never anarchist, but kind of from that place. And what we're saying is, you get older and you realize that we like our art to be provocative, to be sometimes a non-conforming. We don't want it to be safe. That's a place to push boundaries, but I don't think that translates into day-to-day life. I don't like, and as you become an adult, you distinguish the two, and I find it annoying when you're talking to somebody and they don't seem to be able to separate the two.
Yeah.
And I don't like it whenever they're on one side of the fence or the other too much. Like, I don't like when their art is dissident and wild and dark and crazy great, but they talk to them and they are a little bit too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I don't want to spend any time with you. And then you get somebody on the other side that like they're just painting pictures of rainbows and
unicorns,
and all the the primary colors, and they're just smiling all the time, and they just want to talk about who cares, and I don't want to spend any time with them either. So
you don't want it to be completely frivolous and just
I like to separate art and life. And I don't think it's right or wrong, but that's what I like to do. And what happens is it gives you a huge freedom if you're writing a song, or you're writing a book, or you're making a painting. It's a huge freedom when you say, I could do anything I fucking want.
Right.
It doesn't represent me, man.
Yeah.
This is a entity all on its own.
Yeah.
So you could hate it.
Yeah.
But you're not hating me.
Yeah, exactly. No,
are you allowed to do that?
That's really cool. Yes, you are allowed to do that. Of course, you're allowed to do that. I mean, that's what every artist. I was watching Marilyn Manson documentary.
Great example of someone who doesn't separate.
And he just so much heat he takes, and he's saying, well, why do I gotta, why do artists gotta be responsible, for that? For that type of thing. I just created it. It's there. It's done. It's out there, and it's it's like, he's been held very accountable.
Yes, but he's a funny one where it says, like, there's he on YouTube, like, all the times that Marilyn Manson surprised his interviewer with how intellectual he was. And then you watch it, and he just says something like really basic and not intellectual really at all. Yeah. And actually, he kind of has the tone of a teenage girl in his approach. Yeah, no, totally. Meanwhile, he's a 50-something-year-old man. But the only reason people are like, wow, he could string a sentence together is because he looks the way he looks and presents himself. So he has the bar is so low.
Yeah. Well, a lot of his talks, though, I mean, a lot of his interviews regarding Christianity were super on point and pretty radical. Pretty radical, not to think that, but to say, to explain it in the way, to laugh in the face of it in Middle America.
That's true.
You know,
That's true. Middle America, it's a different thing. For us up here, I'm like,
yeah, for us here, it's all normal. It's like we all, you know.
But you're right. Down there, it holds a lot more weight. Like up here, when people says, "Oh,
well, it did." It's just like anything now. He's not scary. He's not. You know. But when he first came out, he was darker or scarier than anything that was, you know, that you were
shock
seeing.
rocker, that's a hell of a thing.
What
Today,
do you do
how
now?
do you be a shock rocker?
I don't know.
It doesn't. You can't. It's like he was like the last one. I don't know. There was Alice Cooper. The first one was God. What was his name? He had the bone through his nose. That super cool black dude who plays piano. Oh, that's good.
Yeah, talking like Howlin'.
I'm gonna put a spell on you.
Like Howlin' Wolf.
Yeah, he was the first one, in my opinion.
Wow.
Put a spell on you.
Yeah, it's pretty hardcore.
He's great. Yeah, I love.
Would you say he's the first?
He was a dickhead.
We need to Google that and find out who the first shock rocker.
I think it would be Howlin' Wolf. Yeah. Putting a bone through his nose, but he was not a good man. But
he was a bad man.
He wasn't a good person. Yeah, he was a dickhead. But musically and his stage thing, awesome.
Oh yeah, right? yeah.
Like really great.
The two don't always necessarily exist together, do they?
Yeah. Alice Cooper, most famous. Marilyn Manson. I think Rob Zombie a bit.
Do you separate art from life? You were talking about this. Do you? So are you a guy who still likes the artist? Or still likes the actor, you know,
acting kind of thing?
If they've done something, if it's come out that they've done something crazy bad, you know, they've raped somebody or they've done some horrible thing. Are you able to separate that and still enjoy the artist?
No, there's a line. You said rape, so yeah, no. If I can't listen to Bill Cosby,
right? Yeah, Cosby's out.
Cosby's out.
See ya, Cosby. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I get that.
And that's not the line's pretty far. He crossed the line by you know.
It's hard, man.
Far. But
it's hard. Like you got a guy like say Louis C.K. for instance. I'll be like,
I'll answer the question better.
Yeah.
Rather than if the artist does something horrendous, like that. No, I have a hard time looking past that. But if the art is horrendous to the point where people are protesting, the art is so horrible. Think of the most horrible thing. If you're listening,
the art,
wherever your mind goes, that most disgusting thing, whatever that is for you, if that's what the art is, if that's what the painting is, that should be allowed. Everybody could hate it. You protest it, and I will not. I think I'll have a beer with that guy.
Right.
If that guy does something horrendous, whatever that horrendous thing is in your head, whatever that is, he did that. I'm sorry. That guy is. I gotta dismiss him. I'm not.
Yeah, but you're limiting the art. What if somebody's art form is? What if somebody's art is killing?
And then he's a serial killer, and I hope that he ends up in prison.
Right. No, but so is that just not art then? Like, would that not be art? Because that could be the most horrible thing that you can imagine.
Whoa, we're going dark. So are we basically saying can a serial killer be considered an artist with what he's like with?
Well, why wouldn't it be? Why wouldn't it be? Put it this way: then you're defining art. so he's maybe you know what I'm saying. I'm saying
right.
art.
Well, I would hope.
Put it this way: in another world, like in the dark web or something like that,
right?
There's probably a lot of people who think that type of thing is art, as well as being one of the most horrific, awful things that can ever be done in this world to another human. There is somebody out there who probably appreciates that, and they're horrible. And we have laws and we have things that we do for those people, but you get into a really weird area when you're defining art, because some people, the same reason that you say something which your most horrible nightmare is like that's art, and you'd sit and have a beer with that guy. But what if that's you though? That's your thing. But what if somebody else's thing is like that? Then you get to judge it.
Well, you have to respect other people. Like, to me, like the Andy Kaufman thing.
Right.
I mean, that's not quite as dark.
No, I respect the lengths he went to. I didn't think he's funny.
Yeah, no, you see, like, just provoking
or brilliant. I'm not
into that kind of thing.
You got to have some humor when you're provoking somebody, and something like some.
There has to be a relief at the end. If you're just provoking someone and leaving, you're just a dickhead. You're provoking someone at the end. They say, "Oh, I get it now, ha ha ha." That's kind of cool. It's like a magic trick, but like you took someone's watch, but you never showed it again. You stole their watch. Like, yeah, I don't know.
There's something to be said about the amount of commitment of a guy like Andy Kaufman, even Jim Carrey, for the amount of commitment that he did playing.
I like Jim Carrey a lot.
Me too. I think that was crazy. I think he annoyed the hell out of everybody, and they wish he'd just go away after a while. When he became that role, like, I don't know if you saw that documentary with him.
He seemed like a dickhead in that to me.
Yeah, he seemed like and that's what Andy Kaufman, because his things weren't necessarily funny. Sometimes they were cruel, sometimes they were mean, and he didn't care who gets hurt in the whole joke or who he's fooling or any of that. So it did seem kind of, that's not my cup of tea, but I still got to go, I still got to admire the commitment that you know. Can you imagine just turning your life over to a complete and prank and living your life like that for years? It'd be crazy.
Right. Yeah, you're getting to an aspect or a genre of art which is not a painting or something. It's the person. Yeah. And like presenting a situation. That's getting into an area that I don't feel it. I don't know if I have an opinion there, because I don't feel it. Like I see stuff like that, and I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't feel it. I don't know. I guess I understand it well enough, but the creative part of it, I don't know. But I don't think it shouldn't happen. I don't think that, I'm not one of those people, but I don't feel it, man. Like, what was the...
I don't dig it at all.
I don't know. What's the guy in that played Johnny Cash, Joaquin Phoenix?
Yeah.
When he did that kind of thing? When he grew the beard?
I know. I found myself...
I was watching, I was like, I'm not feeling it, man. I don't like it. I know I'm not supposed to like it.
I found myself
joke, but I don't know. Maybe you're just a dick.
Yeah. I found myself going, come on, man. Like, come on.
Can we just like some LA asshole that took too much blow with a buddy and he came up with this idea, and now you're just way too deep.
Yeah, you're way too deep. And you think that you're going to get a little more respected, like he's like,
Sure. Like he fucked up. He fucked up. I mean, but I think we might have been witnessing a rock bottom drug thing.
Yeah, where
somebody,
this is a cool idea.
Yeah,
do you think, man?
Yeah.
I've had I mean, on drugs, I've had some really, really, what I thought were really just like,
your rock bottom wasn't on Letterman.
No, God, no. No, and that's really fortunate.
Yeah.
I never hit rock bottom. I'm not a badass like that. I'm just saying that I think that I've thought that I've come up with the world's most genius ideas when I've been on drugs, and only to, find out, the next day that, they were absurd and not funny and not genius at all. So...
Yeah, I don't have a rock bottom story. I don't have any good stories. Someone has just a million stories within. Then
I'm not a stories guy. I mean, I've got stories, but I don't.
Some people, they tell stories. And they always.
I love those guys.
And the way they tell them, it's always like they did something, and then the big moment is whenever they put that person in their place.
Yeah.
They said this, and then boom, the whole story has an arc, and the peak of the arc is whenever they put that person in their place.
Well, yeah, this wouldn't be called, Scott's Boring Podcast if you were stories guy.
Yeah. I know, it'd be Scott's wild, crazy stories, and it's not. It's just Scott's boring life.
Yeah, no, but that's good though. I like that. It's kind of like all uphill from there.
Yeah,
the pressure's off.
Yeah,
the pressure's off.
We set the bar low. I think that's important though in life. Set the bar low.
Oh yeah,
just the basics is what you want, and then beyond that,
expectations.
A few laughs after that, and
Oh yeah, no, for
That's
sure.
it. Dude, fuck. Thanks for coming.
Hey, happy to be here. I feel like I like that we're a little tangential.
I thought it went
Is that
well.
a word?
It is now.
All right.
All right, that's a talk that I had with Dave Lettinga yesterday here in the studio. I enjoyed talking to Dave. Dave, thanks for coming. Thanks for being on the album. Thanks for coming here in the studio and jamming old school throughout the summer like we did this summer. I'm sure we are going to make some music again down the road. So podcast 9 and everyone after that is going to be in Kauai. My boring life is going to be on location. I hope you join me. All right? I'll see you in Hawaii. Mahalo. Aloha.